The cabinet reshuffle season is upon us, especially in provinces. In Mpumalanga, former murder-accused Mandla Msibi has now been appointed to the MEC role of Cooperative Governance. That's COGTA for short, as we call it nowadays. He takes over from Mandla Ndlovu. Msibi's murder charges have been provisionally withdrawn by the NPA. The Premier, Refilwe Mtsweni-Tsipane, announced her new provincial executive team earlier today. She said the aim is to accelerate service delivery in the province. My colleague, Pule Letshwiti-Jones, following that story for us, joining us now just to give us the latest about this. I'm sure, Pule, good afternoon. Welcome to today. I'm sure the focus has been on Mr. Mandla Msibi, who had those murder charges against him recently withdrawn. I wonder what he told you about his appointment.
Yeah, very courageous, Bradan, indeed. He says that he's ready to actually come into the position and, of course, effectively start, heading to task in terms of delivering services. You're right to say this is one character and one person who was once under the spotlight for having, the murder charges linked to his name and subsequently later officially dropped. And he had stepped aside after he was nominated as the province's treasurer as well. But I asked him if he was shocked with the announcement. He says that, he was notified yesterday about the, him having to now be in COGTA, having to head that portfolio. And he says that he's ready. He's bringing experience from when he was a former agriculture MEC in the province. And therefore, he feels as though the Premier did not do a mistake in terms of, allowing him to head that department. But he's not the only one. We understand that also the provincial chair, former COGTA MEC, Mandla Ndlovu, will be heading the Public Works Department, and the newly elected Finance MEC department will be headed by the MEC, Ms. Mpumalanga. Those are some of the names that we heard today, of course, replacing others as well who didn't make the cut, such as MEC Namichamran, who was the Public Works MEC before, and Mr. Mkachwa, who was also the MEC for Finance, who did not make the cut today. The Premier is quite, adamant, and she's quite clear that these candidates, or rather these members who have been nominated, will head to task. She believes that this is in the interest of service delivery, and she also does believe that she's taken time to actually try and see whether the provincial reconfiguration will be in the right direction in terms of administering proper services and economic transformation and development of the province as well. But perhaps let's just take a listen to what Mr. Msibi had to say earlier on.
I don't know this is a stigma, because there's justice in South Africa. And when you charge a person is innocent until proven guilty by a court of law. So the justice system, the NPA itself, the one who charged people, withdrawn the cases. And we have been saying all along that these cases are malicious, we've done nothing. And after 11 months, they themselves withdrawn. It's not even us who requested that they withdraw. It's not even the justice system. It's NPA withdrawn the cases.
So you think you can be an effective MEC?
I've been an effective MEC before. I'm effective in any endeavor when being deployed.
Pule, one of the questions on my mind currently with what has happened in Mpumalanga, where you are at, we also saw a provincial cabinet reshuffle in Limpopo. We are waiting this afternoon after 3 o'clock to hear from Panyaza Lesufi, the new Gauteng Premier, who will constitute his provincial executives. And this is all happening with these provincial governments, with the ANC as the governing party. I cannot but ask, I wonder about the timing, because it's like 2 months or so before the National Elective Conference of the ANC, and it's 18 months plus minus before the national and provincial elections in 2024. The timing for me is just very interesting.
Quite indeed, you're correct to say that. When you speak about timing, this is something the opposition party, the DA, is also quite concerned about, particularly in the province of Mpumalanga. They're concerned about the newly, filled in person who is the MEC for Finance, Ms. Mpumalanga, who they believe, of course, will be someone who is easily going to listen to the Premier when wanting things And I quote, they believe that this whole move was as a result of wanting, or rather having close proximity to the resources of the provincial fiscus. But they're also quite, absurd about the decision of having to field Mr. Ndlovu as the MEC of Public Works. They believe that the former MEC was doing a sterling job in terms of transforming and ensuring the proper transportation, levels and of course processes in the province. They believe that she was having, a time of having to deliver services to the residents, and they're quite concerned about the reshuffling. They also believe that this reshuffling comes at a time whereby some of the candidates for NEC positions in the ANC in the province are also the ones who are vying for those positions, and therefore are also occupying some government seats, and they believe that the timing of this all is quite questionable. Later on I'll be playing that, but you get a sense that the opposition party is quite worried about today's reshuffling. However, contrary to that, the Premier says, and she's adamant, that the reshuffling was something which was necessary. She believes that it was necessary for the purposes of service delivery and to ensure that at the end of the day residents are fulfilled with what they want from the officials of government in this province.
Thank you very much. Pule Letshwiti-Jones in Mpumalanga, just giving us the latest update following that cabinet reshuffle in that province.